Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your July 2024 horoscope. July has a lot going on, honestly. Not a lot in the sense of a lot of intensity or a lot of major aspects, although we do have some of those. But what I mean is that there's just a lot of different little sextiles and trines between the planets, especially between, for example, with Neptune and Saturn and Uranus. Because of the time constraint of this horoscope, I'm not going to get into all of the aspects. Instead, today I want to focus on the most major ones, or the ones that are going to feel the strongest, the ones that cannot be avoided. However, that being said, if there is a date that, even though I don't mention here today, but you still are feeling some type of way, having some things that you need to work through, please do take the time and the space to ground yourself, to look at what's coming up, and to reflect on perhaps what this is trying to teach you. We start off the month on July 2nd with Neptune going retrograde. And for you, Sagittarius, Neptune is going retrograde in your 4th house and is staying retrograde until December. Neptune has been in your 4th house since 2011, so quite a while. And because of Neptune in your 4th house, you might have been really thinking about the dreams and the hopes and wishes that you've had when it comes to your family relationships, when it comes to the type of home that you want to live in, or to the type of family that you want to form for yourself. And now that Neptune is retrograde, you might be sort of reflecting and reconsidering all of the steps that you have taken in that area of your life since 2011. And take a note during this period. What is coming up? What are you reflecting on? Are you learning something during this retrograde? Because in December, when Neptune goes direct, that will be a good time to carry some of these actions out. Whereas during the retrograde, it's better to just not start anything new or do anything differently, but just take the time to reflect, to go inwards, to pause. So don't worry, there will be a time at the end of the year and into next year to be able to put some of those reflections into action. On July 6th, there's a new moon in Cancer in your 8th house. For you, Sagittarius, I really see this as a wonderful opportunity to get more vulnerable with those close to you. It's perhaps a good idea to start setting up a new ritual, a new routine that can allow you to share openly and vulnerably with somebody else. On July 10th, we have an interesting aspect between the Sun and Venus and Saturn and Neptune. The Sun and Venus are in your 8th house and Saturn and Neptune in your 4th. And what I love about this day is that these are two aspects that seem quite separate from one another, but the fact that they are happening on one day really, I think, reminds all of us to never consider transits or aspects as removed from others, as something independent of their own. I think it really reminds us that everything is connected, and a sun trine Mars will mean something different depending on what's happening with the other planets. So, all of that being said, on July 10th, the Sun will trine Saturn and Venus will trine Neptune. They're both highlighting your axis of 8th and 4th house. The way this might play out for you, Sagittarius, is you might have an opportunity to be more vulnerable with your family. You might have an opportunity to share how you truly feel, to share your deep thoughts that you don't necessarily share so easily or so lightly. And as a result, you're able to strengthen your familial relationships, your bonds with them. And you're also able to improve sort of the compassion and the understanding that you have for one another. On July 11th, Venus enters the sign of Leo. And because Pluto is at 0 degrees of Aquarius, Venus ends up opposing it. And you might especially feel like it's coming head to head between you remaining open minded and the power in that versus you forming strong beliefs and perhaps forcing others or being quite strong and fervent in your beliefs that you don't allow yourself or you don't allow others to make their own beliefs for themselves. So really be careful around the 11th, but actually for the whole of the month of July, that you keep track of what you're sharing, the words that are coming out of your mouth, and being able to express yourself without necessarily forcing certain belief systems or certain lifestyles upon others. On July 14th, we have one of the biggest events of the month. And this is the conjunction between Mars and Uranus, which for you, Sagittarius, is happening in your 6th house. This could be quite an explosive day, a passionate day. And because it's in your house of health and routine, you might be very passionately starting some new routine. You might be very motivated to get up, to follow your morning routine, to go to that workout class. But because we're also talking about Uranus in the mix, it might be that you are fighting for your unique routine, your own unique health. Perhaps there is a certain aspect that you want to bring into your routine that people might think, oh, well, that doesn't make sense or that's a bit weird. But on this day, you might feel especially motivated to stand up for that and to allow yourself to do that, to incorporate that in your routine, even though it might make others judge you for it. You might also be fighting from others that are sort of like impeding on your boundary, the boundaries you have set for creating a healthy life for yourself. You know, maybe it's the boss that's asking you to work over hours, which is making you miss your workouts. You might be especially strong on this day to not allow that. Mars with Uranus conjunct in the 6th house. Just be really careful not to overexert yourself when it comes to physicality. Be careful not to overexert yourself with your workouts or with your diet, because it can lead to this quite explosive, determined energy. On July 20th, Mars enters Gemini, which is your 7th house. Mars entering Gemini might feel quite nice for you, Sagittarius. You might feel a lot more motivated and in tune with your relationships. Do keep in mind that Mars in Gemini can lead to a bit of scatterness. It might mean that it's easier for you to overextend yourself. So even though it's beautiful that you're shifting your focus to your relationship, one way that you could ensure you don't overexert yourself is perhaps for this transit, just pick 2 or 3 relationships that you want to focus on and that you want to give your best to and all of your energy to, instead of all of a sudden trying to improve your relationship with all the 100 people that you know. Just a day later, we have a full moon in Capricorn. So this full moon on July 21st is very much influenced by Pluto. This is because the moon in Capricorn is just 1 or 2 degrees away from Pluto in Aquarius. Also during this full moon, Mars is trining Pluto, so that again brings in some of that Plutonian energy. I think what makes this full moon interesting is that Pluto is going retrograde, and it's actually going to return back into Capricorn later this year. And the fact that this full moon is happening right at that final degree of Capricorn, 29 degrees of Capricorn, I do think that this full moon might bring up some of those Pluto and Capricorn themes that we've been living with for the last 20 years. And because it's a full moon, it might be a sort of a piece of information or a revelation about the last 20 years that we may have missed. I don't think this is a piece of information that's necessarily negative or shocking. This is because we do have a couple of nice transits happening at the same time. We have Venus sextile Jupiter, and we have the Sun trine Neptune. So Neptune, Venus, Jupiter, Because all of these planets are involved in the full moon, I do feel like the piece of information that we're going to get is sort of like the missing puzzle piece that sort of makes it all make sense, makes the lessons and the struggles with Pluto and Capricorn for the last 20 years. We finally understand it. We're finally able to, get the essence of what that transit was trying to teach us. And for you, Sagittarius, for the last 20 years, Pluto was in your second house. So you might have especially been learning about your own power when it comes to providing for yourself, your own power when it comes to giving yourself a safe and secure place, whether materially, whether providing for yourself financially, but also emotionally, mentally, giving yourself the respect and the honor that you deserve. The Sun opposition Pluto doesn't happen until a day later, on July 22nd, when the Sun enters the sign of Leo. Because of this, I do feel like the effects of the full moon might be a bit more outdrawn. They might not necessarily reach a crescendo during the full moon. It might happen a day later, or they might just be more like long drawn. They might be going on for a bit, because indeed that opposition with the Sun and Pluto happens a bit later. Pay attention as well to what happened when Venus opposed Pluto earlier in the month, because it might be the same themes that come up on the 22nd when the Sun opposes Pluto. And the final transit that I want to bring up during this horoscope, Sagittarius, is the sextile between the Sun and Mars. The Sun is in your 9th house and Mars is in your 7th. All of the effort and attention you've been giving your relationships is making your values and your lifestyle and just your beliefs about who you are on this earth and the purpose of your life here. It just makes sense. It's coming together a lot more easily. Another way that this can manifest, Sagittarius, is that your partner gives you the opportunity to study together or to travel together. And this also further helps contribute to this feeling that the type of lifestyle, the values, the beliefs that you have formed into this life that you want to live, it all just sort of makes sense and it clicks and it works nicely. So overall, Sagittarius, I feel like July has quite a bit of a relationship focus for you. We heard about the family, we heard about your partnerships, your one-on-one relationships, coming up quite a bit during this month, and also vulnerability, being open and sharing unapologetically with others. So I hope you take some time during this month to spend time with others. Before you go, Sagittarius, I also wanted to remind you that I'm doing a giveaway. When we reach 1,000 subscribers on this channel, I will give one of you a free reading. So make sure you subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me, Sagittarius, and I hope to see you again soon.